Welcome back to the Garage Built Podcast. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're in the studio, aka my office at home, and we're gonna switch it up a little bit. As you can probably tell, there's not going to be a guest this episode, and that's on purpose, and that's kind of why we're doing this episode. So, we've had the absolute honor to talk to 4 phenomenal entrepreneurs, phenomenal people. We had Camden Shirts, who does real estate. We had Dylan Carter with his photography business. We had Daniel Deal with the first mobile emissions testing company in America. And then we had Jake Myers from M2 Armament Group, a homegrown USA-made supply company, because YouTube doesn't like it when I tell it what that company does. So I'm not even going to say it. Gotcha, YouTube. Anyway, so many cool things. Hopefully you guys have been listening along. You guys have been paying attention because the advice, the tips, the experience that all 4 of these people have had so far are phenomenal. So I thought, why not do an episode where we break down what each of them said a little bit, talk about what I'm taking away from it, and then kind of talk about what we're going to keep doing on Garage Built and what we're going to stop doing on Garage Built. So if that sounds cool to you, pay attention to the rest of the episode. I'm super excited. I've never done a podcast alone before. I've always had a guest, or I've always been a part of like a 2-person, 3-person podcast. So this is going to be interesting, and I'm very excited to see how this one turns out. So if you're following along, know that I am super grateful for you. Please like, subscribe, follow the podcast wherever you listen. We're now on Amazon Music. I think we're on Google Podcasts, and then we also are on iHeartRadio. So hopefully more and more of you are going to be hearing me, and that's pretty cool. So thank you so much for following along. Let's get right into it. So there's kind of 5 parts to this, and we're just going to go through all 5 parts, and we're going to talk about what I've taken away, what I'm going to be applying to what I'm building, and then what we can all do to really go for it. So I want to talk about first the things that surprised me talking to these entrepreneurs. And first of all, there's a lot of things that surprise me about a lot of people. And these guys, I do know all of them, right? I'm friends with them. I've had interactions with them before. But what surprised me about all of them is that they each have such a big vision for what they can be doing. Like Camden, for example, wants to change the real estate game because he's young, he's hungry, he knows that he can do it, and it hasn't been done the way he's doing it very well before. And by that, I mean, I'm talking about the social media presence that he has. I'm talking about all the different ways of strategizing, of making himself a point on literal maps so that people can find him there and he can get incoming leads. It's something that not a lot of entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship-minded people in the real estate business really do until they have their own real estate agency. But he's like, why do that? Let's do it there. Dylan has decided that he would rather it stay a side hustle. He makes plenty of money doing it, but now he's just leveraging that extra time that he has throughout the day to really hone in on an audience that's going to work with him, and really finding that right balance of how much he charges versus the type of clientele he wants to get. And he's hustling every night. He said he was doing it till midnight, pretty much every night, editing, because he wants those clients to get what they paid for. And he's hustling, which I think is so cool. Daniel is fighting against dumb government regulation to get the ability to go out and sell. So he hasn't even sold people yet in some of these places where he's working on getting, the permission to even do the mobile emissions testing. And so he's fighting a 2-pronged battle of first figuring out how to start doing it in a new location and then selling to people. So I'm constantly surprised because Daniel, having studied neuroscience in college, is now this like cutthroat entrepreneur, but still such a good dude, and just he's got his whole heart into it, and I love that. Jake has been through the ringer, helping a home service business, kind of a home improvement business, really blow up in Utah, leaving, doing it for a little bit more, and then leaving and starting his own firearms company, focusing on things that not all firearms companies do, where he's avoiding the race to the bottom on pricing. He's instead kind of etching himself a new niche where he can thrive, where people are looking for what he's got. Anyway, there's so many things we could break down about all four of them, but each one of them is hustling their butt off because they want to. They have such a strong desire to do it. Now, what did I expect from each of these guys as I talked to them? Now, once again, I know these people. I've interacted with them outside of work. I've interacted with them on golf courses, at other jobs, at, this, that, and the other. And that's funny. I'm now thinking about it. I've played golf with all four of them individually. That's funny. Anyway, great, cool thing that we all have in common. I'm glad I get to do that. But with these guys, I expected them to be a little bit more, I want to say braggadocious about what they've built. That's a big word, vocab word. Look it up. Just means they're bragging about what they're building. But not a single one of them was very boastful. All of them were extremely humble about what they're building, but very excited at the same time. So they're clearly like pumped that they get to do what they get to do. And as I was asking them questions, obviously the formula is I send the questions to them beforehand so they can kind of skim through them, maybe formulate answers if they want to think about it a little bit more, or if they have specific things they want to bring up, that gives them an opportunity to do that. Every single one of them came prepared, and every single one of them was humble about these amazing things that they're building. And I think that's like so key. And I'm a victim of my own pride where sometimes I put myself up a little too high. Sometimes I'm also putting myself down. It's not great. But what I'm taking away from each of them, from that expectation that I did have, is that there's no need. Like, you can be successful, you can be humble, you can be pumped about what you're building, but you don't need to be, I want to say boastful, but that's probably the best word, so we're going to stick with it. But they're so humble about what they built, and they're excited to keep going and keep building. And I just love that. They all had things in common too. They're all young comparatively to where you'd expect them to be, right? So, Camden, by far the youngest, he's in his early 20s, and he sold 5 houses last year in a matter of 3 months of selling. Like, that's bonkers, first of all, for a kid that young and that hungry to go out and just crush it when 80% of realtors in Utah didn't make a sale last year. Guys, I hope you realize how absolutely nuts that is, and how absolutely nuts Camden's whole adventure is going to go. So, but then Dylan, he's been doing that for a long time, right? He started young. He's still young. And as he's growing his family, his business is just working itself to be a part of it. And he's competing against people who've done it for a long time. Some of them, a lot of them are young too, but Dylan is finding a way that he can, carve out his little section. Despite what he says, he refuses to pick a niche. He has a niche, and let's be honest, he does. And it might be a little bit bigger of a niche than some of the other people that do photography. Like, he doesn't just do weddings, but he does weddings and corporate shoots and portraits and all these cool things. And he can be the jack of all trades and do all these things. And he's young enough where he has just kind of plugged himself in and gotten all the knowledge he wants and continues to grow that knowledge. And I think because he's young, he's gonna absolutely crush it continuing. Daniel, I think Daniel's the oldest out of all of the people we've interviewed so far. And in Daniel's situation, he has his master's degree. He just had his birthday. Shout out Daniel. Happy birthday again. We got to go play volleyball in the smoky weather. Freaking Utah wildfires are going crazy still. But, like I said, happy belated birthday, Daniel, again. But he's figured out that there's a company that doesn't exist that people would gladly pay for, and he's built it. And now he can grow it. And it is growing. Like I said before, he just got into Utah County. And Utah County's population is massive. right? So he's got Cache County, Davis County, now Utah County. I mean, Utah County might have doubled his client base if he does it right, and he is doing it right. You know, mind you, he is absolutely doing it right. If you're driving around Utah County, you're going to see his road signs everywhere. Just little like candidate road signs that, you know, political people put, you know, on the side of the road on an empty lot or whatever. He's got a bunch of those all around where I live, up north, all the way down to the south part. It's so cool. But he's young, and he's learning all these things so early compared to like the average age, which I want to say the average age is like 38 to 40 is when people are starting their own businesses. Daniel's 30 and he's starting his own business, and it's a cool business. It's the first one in America. It's so cool. Jake, to round us out here, has, you know, he's my age. He's built based on all the knowledge he has about the industry that he's in. I almost said it. YouTube. I almost said it. I didn't though. So you'll never know. But he's got tons and tons of knowledge just because he's a hustler. He seeks out that knowledge. He practices that knowledge in his industry and goes about learning and learning and learning. And it's so cool. But he also takes the experience he had as a salesman doing door-to-door sales and puts that right into what he does every day too. We talked about that a lot. And he's young, right? And he's doing all this. And I mean, it's just every single one of them is beating the average, right? They're outliers, but somehow I know 4 of them. It might just be the fact that Utah is Utah, and here in Utah, if you've ever been to Utah, if you've never been to Utah, come up and visit us. It is a very, very cool place. Tons and tons of stuff to do, unlike anywhere else as far as things to do. But there's very, very cool and different things to do up here. But one of the things that we have in Utah that's very unique is this entrepreneurial spirit. And, you know, that might come from some of the religious backing that's here, this kind of methodology, this doctrine about being self-sufficient, because what they preach is, you know, you become self-sufficient as a family and you can bless the lives of other people easier that way. That's kind of what's taught. And it's ingrained in all of us from a young age here, just by the nature of where we live, that we should be building something. And it's crazy to see some of the companies that have come out of Utah. Some of them you will recognize. Some of them have been very, very public. Like, just to name a few, Crumble. Yeah, you've heard of Crumble. Yeah, that started right here in our backyard. Swig, another one. If you've had a dirty soda before, Swig's kind of the OG. They're the GOAT of dirty sodas right here in Utah. Let's talk about Job Nimbus, a CRM for roofing contractors and tons of other trades. Started right here from Utah. Vivint, right? This home security, just Goliath. Started right here in Utah. In fact, in Provo, where BYU is located. Let's talk about, you know, Qualtrics. All the surveys you've taken online, big chunk of those are Qualtrics surveys. Started in our backyard. Anyway, these guys are all young and they're beating the average because it's kind of what they were born to do. I mean, I hate to be like dramatic like that. It sounds really weird saying it out loud, but that's really what it is. Like, they're beating the odds. They are the outliers and they're crushing it. Very, very cool. All right, lads and lasses, welcome to a little bit of an ad break. I'm super stoked to talk again about Legend Supply Co. or Legend Outdoors, because what Legend does is create very cool products at a reasonable price that you will actually use. I've got right here their battery pack. Now, besides having, I mean, check this out, dude. They've got a USB-C, a old style USB, an actual USB, and a lightning cable, plus a magnet charger, an Apple Watch spot for your Apple Watch to go, and a USB-C out port, which you charge it with, and you can charge with another cord. This thing's awesome, and it looks like a little guy right now, I'm just realizing. That's kind of fun. But this thing is a hoss. I used it all weekend. We were down visiting my wife's family in another part of the state for the 4th of July, and Kylie can attest to this. I had this everywhere I went. It's got so much battery life that I was able to charge my phone like 3 times off of it. Super, super cool. I also love, because I'm always watching podcasts or watching YouTube videos, it has a stand, so I can literally toss my phone onto here with the magnet, which it sticks, and I can literally set it up on a table or whatever, and it stands there for me, which I use every single day. So using the link in my description below this video or in the description of this podcast that you're listening to, you can pick up one of these power banks on Legend Outdoors or legendsupplyco.com. Use that link. You get $5 off your purchase, and you get entered into their giveaways, which is one of the coolest things that Legend does. They do massive, and I'm talking massive, car giveaways. BMWs, lifted trucks, G-Wagons at one point. Just crazy, crazy stuff. So if you like cars, if you are a business owner and you're on the go all the time and need an extra battery boost, pick one of these up, because this thing is a hoss and I love it, and I literally use it every day since I got it. So click that link below and back to the episode. Well, let's talk about some of the advice that each of these business owners, entrepreneurs gave, because a lot of them, I mean, we had a couple crossovers in advice. We also had some differentiating ideas in the advice category. Like, for example, let's talk about education. So Dylan and Camden specifically don't really see college as a necessity to get to where they are and do what they're going to be doing. It's, once again, sounds a little weird coming out of my mouth the way I said it, but I'm going to stick with it again because we do this in one take. That's how we roll. But Dylan, first of all, was told by a professor of photography at BYU that if he already had a portfolio built up, the degree means nothing. That's a real quote from a real professor at a real university. Said that if you already have a portfolio, you don't need the degree. They're going to look at the portfolio first anyway. Then Camden, at the beginning, first one we interviewed, says that, it's kind of a scam to him, and he has learned more doing it in practice than he can in a classroom. It's very interesting. Jake at the end also kind of mentioned that, education wasn't his biggest thing either, but guerrilla education, I'm going to use that term, is kind of what he chose. On the whole other opposite side of the spectrum, there's Daniel, who decided that to build his business, he wanted mentorship, he wanted further education, studied neuroscience at BYU, moved to getting his master's degree in business creation, which is a very cool title for a degree, by the way, from the University of Utah. And he decided to buckle down and do that. Excuse me. All that smoke. It's like sticking into my lungs. But Daniel decided to pursue even further education and go get his master's in business creation. For that, you had to have a business, which he did. He had Mobile Emissions was started at that point. He's also done a bunch of other things, which he could totally get into. He mentioned it on the podcast. Go look up the Wolf Jack. It's a very cool weightlifting piece of equipment. But they had some different opinions and different pieces of advice. Let's talk about something that was kind of a commonality out of all of them. Every single one of these guys, whether they said it out loud or not, has gone all in. I think the most vocal about it were probably Daniel and Jake, Jake left his day job at the home service business, home improvement business, to start doing guns because it was more successful for him. Daniel decided to move counties and counties away from where he was living in Provo at the time to start his business in a place that was willing to let him do it. So these guys they kind of just went for it. Like there's nothing left on the table after they're done. They fail. Okay. Maybe they've got some savings they can go back to. Maybe they got another job they can go back to. More importantly, they just went all in. And I think for all of us as entrepreneurs, whether we, like Dylan, for example, or Camden at the beginning, kind of keep our day job, either because we want to or because we just need some cash flow and it's a good way to keep that up. Or we just leave entirely and go just try and do this thing. Like Daniel and Jake. There's multiple ways to do it, but they went all in. And I think that's so important. So for each of us, as we're kind of growing our businesses, I encourage all of you to go all in. And one of the things I've kind of felt as I've, dived more into, developing this podcast, helping some other people I'm very closely connected to grow their social media following, kind of wearing a bunch of different hats, working at the home service business that I work at every day on top of everything else that I'm doing. I think it's so important to go all in. It's embarrassing, right? From the marketing perspective of putting yourself out there as an entrepreneur, you have to, or else your business won't work. That's just the nature of the beast. All of us have to do that. Like Dylan said, we got to develop our sales personality. And like Jake said, you've got to take what you know about treating people right from every experience you've ever had and apply that to what you're building. Anyway, the consistency and the follow-up that is required with yourself, with your clients, with everything that you're doing, developing your skills especially, it's so important to go all in. Now, like I said before, and I'm just reiterating what I'm saying, and I apologize, it is embarrassing to go out and network, to go out and meet people, to try and start something that maybe people don't want. A lot of times people, I'm going to rephrase that, a lot of times people close to you, I've seen this reel like 1,000 times on Instagram. I'll repost it when I see it, but it's pretty much, an entrepreneur, someone who leaves their job and starts their own thing. And it shows the faces of everyone, their friends and family's reactions to them starting these things. And they're all like confused or skeptical, like clearly like not super into it and kind of like wondering what the heck are these people doing. And then you turn around and it shows the people that they have no idea who they are, just random people on the internet. And all these random people are cheering them on and like, oh, this is awesome. Like, we're so excited to see what you're building. Sometimes that is kind of how it is. Each of the guys we talked to mentioned something about what other people are reacting to them. And there were mixed feelings on both the negative and the positive side. But they've all had to put themselves out there. And that's not an easy thing to do. I think it might be one of the hardest things for a lot of people to do. But here's your motivation for today. Just go out and do it. So what? You're going to be a little embarrassed. We all are. It's all good. We're all humans. None of us know anything anyway. We're all figuring this out as we go. Everyone's pretending at least a little bit to be something that they're not quite all the way there. That's just how it is. Like, I'm pretending to be good at podcasting. Gotcha. Just kidding. No, I love this. It's fun. I'm getting better. But the consistency is key. You got to go all in. Now, I want to move on to another point. I'm telling you guys, these wildfires, they're causing me to have like asthma or something. I'm dying here. I apologize. For those listening on audio, you don't get to see me cough. You just get this loud boom noise because I'm coughing into the microphone. Another thing I wanted to talk about today was the mistakes I see people making after doing these interviews. Now, obviously, I'm a podcast person. I love listening. I love watching podcasts. I listen to a bunch, watch a bunch, right? I see some things being talked about some places and not other places. And after talking to these guys, the amount of times where I see people, companies, consumers underselling themselves is kind of mind-boggling. It kind of hurts to see, to be honest. Like, I'll see someone who really does do the classic, cheap wins, and they're just winning clients or customers or whatever, because they're the cheapest people out there. And they're hunting down the bargain hunting people, which is fine. I mean, there are ways to make money doing that, but the potential is getting so squandered. And I see so many people just completely underselling what they're capable of. And it hurts. And I personally had that thought about myself too. So like it's all of us are going to have it. It's not something that you're going to like completely skip. It's going to happen to you too. But what's the key? What have I found? After talking to these guys, the amount of just carefree attitude I need to have is is way higher. I just need to be able to not care what people think. I need to not care what I think, and I need to sell myself to what I think I'm worth. Because if I'm not doing that, then I'm not winning. which is crazy to think about. And a lot of that's the mental game, which I love what Daniel said about having a good mental game. I apologize. What Dylan said about having imposter syndrome. Like it's not an if, it's a when. When are you going to have the imposter syndrome? And like we talked about there, the cure to the imposter syndrome is, I think, violent effort. I think, having talked to all four of these guys and loads of other people, I think it's just getting out there, getting your boots dirty, getting your gloves in the sand and digging, dude. Like, it's so funny because, I mean, it's so many people that I know that are working on things or have ideas or visions or whatever that genuinely aren't doing enough. And the amount of violent effort that I'm going to keep giving and start giving even more of to what I do is skyrocketing. It's going through the roof. I'm going to the moon. You can come with me if you want. If you don't, all good. No worries. But that's kind of what the mistake is that I see is people are selling themselves short, whether that's through the way they talk about their business or their ventures or their ideas, where they're sitting there and they're like, yeah, I've got this idea, but it won't work. What? Have you done anything about it? And the answer usually is, well, no. Well, no. Well, put on your freaking Batman utility belt and get out there and do it first. And then if it doesn't work, then okay. Then you have something to go on and you're like, okay, it doesn't work. It's all good. But on the other hand, the people that are like, you know what? I'm going all in on this. I don't really care what people think about me. I am going to do it and I'm going to win. And that's, if it takes giving everything I've got, I'm going to do that. Those are the people that win, like consistently. The interesting thing is, a lot of these people that we know, these gurus we see online, we view their journey as like an overnight, like snap their fingers and boom, they're millionaires, they're billionaires, whatever. But everybody wants to just like sit back and relax and like wait for that to happen. And they're not doing anything about it. And if that's you, guess what? We've all felt that way too. It's like Dylan said, again, the imposter syndrome. It's something that we're going to have to conquer. And if you're down to conquer it, this is a good place for you to be, because I'm on that same journey and the people I'm talking to are all going to be on that same journey too. So buckle up, strap in, join us. This is a good spot for all of us to be. Let's move on to a couple last things. If I could steal one idea, one thing from each of my guests' businesses and apply it to what I'm doing, and some of this you may have seen already because I'm actually doing it, what would they be? Well, let's start with Camden. Camden, I think, is a great example of this. I don't care what people think about me. I'm doing me and I'm going to win attitudes. I think he's one of the best examples out there of that because he's so young. I keep saying he's so young. He's like 4 years younger than me. I'm also young. It's all good. But Camden's like a phenomenal example of this. I want to steal that. And so I'm going to be posting more on social media. I'm like collaborating with myself, putting it on my personal Instagram too. So my people can see what I'm doing. If they don't like what I'm doing, cool. All good. It's not for them. It's okay. But there might be some people, and I've actually had a bunch of people that this has happened to, that have swiped up on a story or, commented on a post and said, this is so cool. Dude, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I appreciate every single one of you. And if you're watching this far into the episode or listening this far into the episode, thank you. I super appreciate it. But Camden doesn't care what people think about him, because he knows that the people that he's trying to talk to, the clients that he's trying to win, are for sure going to react to him. and they're for sure going to want to do what he's doing and be a part of what he's building. I want that. And so I'm doing that. Thank you, Camden. I'm applying that to what I'm doing. For Dylan, my conversation with Dylan is one of my most memorable, I think, just because, we spent 8 hours a day for about 9 months in the same room together. And so we've shared a lot of stories and stuff together. But what Dylan, I think, does extraordinarily well is build real meaningful relationships with the people he works with. Everyone is Dylan's friend. If you work with Dylan, you're his friend, you're in his inner circle, for lack of a better term. And I love that. Like, I'm thinking about everything that I do. Let's say I have a host on that, maybe I've just DM'd them before, maybe I've just talked to them a little bit before. And this guest, sorry, I used the word host. I'm sorry. I meant guest. If this guest comes on and we don't leave the podcast like total bros or homies or friends or, a business relationship that we're going to be able to use going forward, I'm not doing my job right. If I'm doing my day-to-day job, which is at a home service business, and I leave a client's house and I don't come away with a yes or a no, I've lost. If I've come away with a maybe, sorry, I didn't win. It's all good. But if I don't come away from that house with like a new connection, someone that now knows who I am and I know who they are, and they're willing to use me in the future for further projects or willing to recommend me to their friends and family, then I also have failed. And Dylan is a master at this. Like, he mentioned that some people that he took their engagement photos, he's now back taking their newborn photos of their second child. He's done so much work for these people that they keep calling him. And I love that. And I am going to apply that to everything I do. Now let's talk about Daniel, because Daniel's is unique, where I can see in a couple years, maybe not even that long, probably closer to like months from now, that people are going to be talking about Daniel's business all over. And they're going to say, this is the most convenient thing. Why has no one done this yet? I'm already thinking that because I know what Daniel does. And I've seen him build this. And I think it's just the coolest thing ever. What I'm taking from Daniel is the mental game. Like, fighting the battles that all entrepreneurs fight, whether it's building the business or, having the mental game to wake up and put on as many hats as we all do and just go for it. I want Daniel's mental game. And I'm going to, I talked about some of the things I'm doing currently, beyond the things I'm doing currently, which is some meditation, always taking every free moment that I can and like learning, watching tons of YouTube videos from people that are way better at the stuff I'm doing than I am. And I'm going to adopt that mental game that Daniel has, where, he might not seem like it because he's a very laid back guy. He's very cool headed, calm. That's the mental game, but he's extremely smart. He's extraordinarily intelligent as far as communication goes, and he is just a master at digging his heels in and getting to work. Like, he's doing some of the emissions testing himself still. He's the owner of the company. Yeah, he started it. Yeah, he's got to teach people. He's got to hire people on. But he's like getting his boots dirty every day. If you go to their social media, which please, I recommend you go to their social media, you're going to see that. So I'm taking Daniel's mental game and I'm putting it directly into everything I do. I'm not going to get bogged down by the nonsense, by the no's, but I'm going to get pumped about the yeses. And I'm going to turn those moments where I'm pumped into just how I am, like as a level. And I think that's super cool. Now, Jake is a different one because his business is so different than all the other ones, where he's reselling products. Gotcha, YouTube. Not even saying what he's selling. Sorry, I keep making that joke. For context, the video I took with Jake, which is such a good episode, by the way, I'm so proud of how it turned out. And then YouTube, because it's related to the industry it's related to, decided to take it down and give me a warning on my profile. Super cool. Even though, anyway, we don't need to get into it. Jake's business is different, where he's reselling items and he's wholesaling items. And he's doing it all the right way, these established relationships with good people. But what Jake does, I think, better than 90% of people out there is the market research. Daniel does too, which Daniel's guerrilla approach to market research is phenomenal. Go watch our episode. Essentially, he went into a Costco parking lot and just talked to people about it while helping them load their groceries in their cars. What? Kind of scary, crazy embarrassing, I'm sure. And he did it. Awesome. I love that. Last one, I promise. Probably not. It'll probably happen again. Jake is so good at finding his niche. And I mean, a lot of that comes from his experience. Like, there's nothing better than experience when it comes to education as a business owner. Like, you got to go through the stuff, or like Dylan and Daniel definitely paid for, monetarily at least, and time-wise. Extra education and mentorship was huge for both of those guys. What Jake's done is spent years in the trenches figuring out how to do it, figuring out the what to do's and what not to do's across multiple industries, and is now applying that to his business. So what I'm going to steal from Jake is I'm going to steal that ruthless mentality of I'm going to figure out who I'm talking to before I ever talk to them. Now, obviously, for what I'm doing currently right now to you is talking to you. Please don't crash your car if you're watching this on video. Please just listen to the audio version. If you're watching on video, it's all good. I've never watched a YouTube video while driving before, so you can take that to the bank. But Jake's ruthless mentality of finding his niche is so important, because a lot of people will just go out there and just say, oh, well, people want what I have, and so I'm just going to get out there and start a business and start selling it. Okay, people might want what you have, but what people are those? Who exactly are you talking about? Do you know where they are? Do you know how to talk to them? Do you know how to find them? And what Jake did is he put his boots into the dirt and figured that out. He knows who to talk to, how to talk to them, and what they want. And so he can match those up and just create a cohesive business. Like, of course people are buying from Jake right now because he's found who he wants to sell to. He knows what they want, and he's giving it to them at a reasonable price. Duh. That's the whole thing I was thinking when I was talking to Jake. I was like, oh, duh. Like, half the battle is just finding out where you need to fight the battle. It's crazy. But that's what I'm stealing from each of those guys. Super pumped that I get to steal all those things, and that I get this permanent record, internet's forever, permanent record of me telling you what I'm stealing from them. So let's finish up. We're going to talk about what's next for Garage Built, because this is going to keep going. I love doing it. I've made tons of new friends doing this, and tons of new connections and people that I want their stories to be told. And now I have an avenue to tell it. I'm so excited. I just love this. It's so much fun. My mom and dad can tell you they've got plenty of home videos of they used to call me Ethan Spielberg, because the minute that they gave me access to it was a tape, an actual camcorder, like a tape camcorder, man, I freaking burned through tapes on that thing, recording Hot Wheels tracks and my siblings and I dancing down in our basement. Heaven forbid that video ever comes out. I'm just kidding. I don't care. I was like 8 years old. I mean, this is the funniest one, I think. There's a 45 plus minute video of me with the camcorder. I'm like 6 or 7 at this time. I am young, and I've got the camcorder on a tripod in the living room of my house from growing up, and I am giving a house tour by just turning the camera and zooming in and out, which on camcorders, if you've used one, you know that zoom in and zoom out is just excruciatingly slow. And it's like 45 minutes of me zooming up on stuff and forcing my little brother Will to go point stuff out and talk about what we're seeing in the tragic history of the thing on the door. It's obnoxious. But with all that being said, now I get this opportunity, because I created it, to be in front of a camera and talk about stuff I care about. And I have an opportunity to make money doing this. And I think it's so cool. So once again, thank you for watching. Super appreciate you. But let's get into the details about what's next, because I realized I didn't even talk about what it was. I just talked about why I'm doing it and how lucky I am. Cool. So let's actually talk about the details here. First off, production value. It's going up. As you can see, I kind of reformulated the filming space that I do these talking head segments in. I've got a better light on that side. Maybe I'll get a light on this side. As you can see, I got some decorations behind me. I got a bookshelf with all my books and stuff on it. I have sponsors now. Huge shout out to Legend Supply and Dot for being a part of the podcast. I'm super grateful for that. As far as guests go, I've got some very, very cool things lined up. I've got, multi-million-dollar business owners. I've got an energy drink brand. I might have a private jet company come on. I've got home service businesses, photographers, people with crazy, crazy huge follower counts, which I'm so excited to just dig into what they're doing and find out what it is that makes them all tick. It's going to be fantastic. So watch out for those episodes. Those are coming very, very soon. We're taking this thing to the moon. We're going to keep doing it. We've expanded our social media presence. Most of you have probably seen me on Instagram or listen to the podcast. Thank you for doing that. Follow on Instagram if you're not already, because we're doing this all the time. But we're now on Amazon Music. Like I said before, we're on Google Podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, just their podcast platform. I doubt this will ever come up on the radio. If it did, cool. Kind of sounds fun. Dylan's got a face for radio, according to his wife, so maybe I'll bring him back on. Sorry, Dylan. I had to. But no, we're out everywhere. We're on TikTok now. We're on YouTube, obviously. Putting shorts out, putting little snippets out every single time that I think about it, which is 3 to 5 times a week. We're doing that kind of stuff. For some context on those, I know I've been posting a bunch of those. There's reasons why. There are parts of the podcasts, these interviews that I've done with people, that I feel like really highlight a good point that they're making. It's not just nonsense. There's a reason why I'm choosing the certain clips that I'm choosing. And so for those of you that are seeing those all the time, thank you for watching those. But there's a reason why I'm posting them. There's some really, really good insights in each of those. I'm not just posting the nonsense moments, okay? It's all important stuff. But we're going to be posting more. We're going to be doing more interviews, more podcast episodes, and we're just going to grow. So to finish out, I should give you guys one thing to take away for yourselves from this episode, because if you've watched till the end of this podcast, this is a unique episode. It's different. It's just me talking for an hour, 45 minutes. I don't even know how long we've been recording, but enough time. If you're going to take away one thing from this episode, it's that if anybody doesn't believe in what you're doing, I believe in what you're doing. And if you need someone that can listen, that can, give you helpful tips, can help you solve problems, I like doing that stuff. I think it's fun. And hopefully you can trust me as a resource with that kind of stuff. So if you don't believe in what you're doing quite yet, you're at a place where you're not quite sure what it is that you're supposed to be doing, DM me, call me, talk to me. I'm so happy to be a resource for you and a friend, someone who's going to pump you up, be a builder, say, hey, let's get it done. Count on me for that. If there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's that you can count on me to believe in what you're doing. So with that being said, guys, once again, and finally, thank you so much for watching this episode of Garage Built. I'm so excited once again that I get to do this. I think it's fun. I think it's just an absolute riot getting to talk to so many people. I did mention this before, but dude, you don't even have any idea the type of guests that I've got coming on. I got some awesome, awesome people coming on, and I cannot wait for you to see who they are and what they do. And for myself, a little selfishly, to literally download everything I hear from them into my brain so I can use it for what I'm growing, and then pass it off to you and show you the exact same thing. So thank you. I super appreciate it. And with that, we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.